With all the controversy surrounding the game at launch and the hate that has been possibly correctly dumped at its doorstep since, I thought that I would break the cycle and list 5 reasons I actually love Fallout 76. At almost level 400, I've played extensively enough to have seen both its good sides and the bad, so I will follow up in the future with the 5 biggest pet peeves or things that I dislike about it. Critiquing something is not about wearing rose-coloured goggles, but simply put, I have logged more hours into this game than any other game I've ever played. Even those who for some reason hang about on Facebook fan sites and diss the game eventually admit to logging 500, 1,000 or even 2,000 hours into the game. So my question is, if it's so bad, why do that to yourself? I would advise you to seek help immediately. As for me, I'm going to start from 5 and move up to my first place reason as to why I love Fallout 76. Number 5, the story. Now, I know this was one of the things that was laughed at most when the game came out, and feel free to laugh now, but you see, even before Wastelanders with its variety of NPCs were introduced to us, I still enjoyed the various quests and side quests. You quickly learn that everyone is dead, and you are basically finishing up tasks that were left by others before the bombs dropped, and some of them are really heart-wrenching. An example is when you take up the task of finding a small boy that was lost at the fairground. The excellently voice-acted holotapes make an eerie situation eerier, and of course there is no happy ending. I know Fallout has become a very tongue-in-cheek experience since number 2, and rightly so, in order to alleviate the tension in a very dark post-apocalyptic era. But that everyone is dead played very well into the fact that a small number of years has passed since the bombs dropped, as opposed to other Fallout games where in some cases centuries have passed and America has been largely repopulated. In short, it immersed me into the reality I found myself in very nicely, and I could get behind some of the stories and the characters, even the ones that I would never meet.
You are returned. And my Freddy?
Number 4, the atmosphere. Atmosphere has always been very important in gaming in general, and the Fallout games in particular have had their own atmosphere about them. The 1930s to 50s jazz always sets me in a good mood and is often comical when you're in peril, still listening to "Lay That Pistol Down, Babe." Even the graphic style sets the scene and immediately makes it feel very charmingly Fallout. Again, the visuals were criticised at launch and continue to irk some, character sprites especially, but Fallout has never been about knockout graphics. For example, the same year Fallout 2 was released, Metal Gear Solid was also released, and graphically speaking they cannot be compared. The sprites themselves do their job and at the same time make for an unmistakably Fallout experience. Would it have been better if it had been more Outer Worlds style? Well, we'll never know, but I think it might have lost something in the transition. We'll just have to wait and see what the next Fallout game looks like, I guess. Number 3, crafting. A typical RPG mechanic is of course crafting, and there are countless things that need crafting in this game. I'm not just talking about weapons and armor and clothes, but the learning curve is very steep in ascertaining what goes with what for which effects, how to maximize your damage output, learning to craft meds and utilize different foods for XP boosting, which mods to consider and which are trash for your weapon, and how to optimize all this to work with your character build and perk card loadout. If this is your cup of tea, there is a lot here to keep you busy. Number 2 is Nuclear Winter. I fear the most for the future of this game mode, as it hasn't seen any love for the past few months, and it's suspiciously absent from the 2021 roadmap, which makes me feel that either it's going to disappear or will be a mode that's just left there for those still having fun enough to play it. Luckily for me, I am one of those people. I came into Fallout 76 during the free week offered with the release of Nuclear Winter. Like pretty much every other franchise at the time, Bethesda clearly wanted to jump onto the Battle Royale bandwagon and hope it would launch its game again, and in some ways it succeeded. It never gained the popularity that behemoths like Fortnite or Apex did, and it didn't manage to draw as many people back to its franchise as Call of Duty did with Warzone. But for those of us who enjoy the Fallout atmosphere, map and slower pace of action, which lends itself to a more team-based tactical experience, mostly devoid of the little kiddie rants, screaming and toxicity of the less mature player base of the aforementioned games, it was a real gem. It has a dedicated player base who have had tons of fun in it, and it would be a shame to see it die. Number 1, the community. I've always been mainly a single-player gamer since the late 80s, which is why I resisted this game for as long as possible. Like everyone else, I have played online games, which is why I didn't enjoy the prospect of being briefed by players 20 times my player level, or being nuked for kicks, or being forced to PvP and then mocked when I couldn't keep up with gamers who play 12 hours a day. So I was pleasantly surprised when within the first hours of play my camp was visited by numerous well-meaning people who dropped gifts, and no, I wasn't playing with a female avatar, bought stuff they didn't need from my vendor and then returned it to me, leaving only a heart emote and disappearing, inviting me on events and helping me with quests. People advised me on all the crafting aspects I mentioned before, shared with me their materials, and generally were great. Nuclear Winter was where I made the best in-game buddies, and there was a real sense of camaraderie. In short though, I have played other online games such as No Man's Sky and Elite Dangerous, both of which I like, but the community of Fallout 76 is second to none in terms of sportsmanship and just being all out nice. What are your experiences? Am I talking out of my backside, or have you had a similar playing experience as me? What have I missed that you'd like to mention? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below and leave a like and subscribe. It really means a lot. This is Gizmo First. See you next time.